Hi, it's Joanne. Today we're watching The Wheel of Time, Season 1, Episode 1, Leavetaking. I am so excited to watch this show. It won the poll on my Patreon for what show I should watch next, and I have been looking forward to this one. I don't really know anything about it other than the fact that it is fantasy. I'm pretty sure it's based on a book and Rosamund Pike is in it. So I am just ready to go on an adventure. I'm so sorry this is up. I originally did want to start this a couple of weeks ago, but my computer died. I've had lots of nightmares, but things are looking good. I've got a new computer. It's very pretty, and I'm excited for this show. A reminder that you can find the unedited version of this reaction and all of my reactions on my Patreon. With this reaction, you get it unedited on Patreon 2 weeks in advance, the edited version 1 week in advance on Patreon, and then the edited version comes on YouTube 2 weeks. So yes, this is going up on the 23rd of May on Patreon, unedited, and then it'll be a week till when you're seeing it on YouTube. It makes sense in my head. I hope I explain it in a way that makes sense. I'm excited. Let's go.
The world is broken.
I'll say that again.
Many women of the Aes Sedai were left to pick up the pieces.
Okay.
These were named Dragon.
Okay.
Now this man has been born again.
Oh fuck.
We don't know where, but this child is coming of age now. And we must find them.
Is the child...
does.
Okay, so they could potentially get the child to not be evil?
You see what we've come here to do? It's a gift. This power. It's meant for women.
Fuck.
And women alone.
Does it actually make the men go mad?
Touch it. You make it filthy.
Please.
Or is it like, I don't know, you have to train to use it, and if you don't get trained it makes you go kind of mad? The trivia might actually answer this. The mission to steal the Dark One back in its prison, though successful, was costlier than anyone could have imagined. Men who attempted to wield Sidon, the male half of the magic energy, also called the One Power, quickly discovered a corruption at its source. Any man with the ability to channel this power is destined to go mad. This was the devastating legacy the Dark One left on the world. Oh. Cheerful stuff.
Trust the river.
Great initiation ceremony. She's trusting the river, mastered her panic. How long is this place going to stay happy?
A few folks went down to Tarrant Ferry with the wool last week. The town was full of soldiers and mercenaries headed south.
Ooh.
They said there's a war.
She's done her ceremony. Everything is far too happy. All the young people, are any of you the one I'm seeking?
If you'll come this way.
Is she the one? Because she's all troubled.
Go wherever.
Please.
Problems in every town.
Is Mum sick again?
Fine. She's alright. Alright.
These kids.
You're going to be just like your dad.
Thank you for that.
I know it.
You've really helped raise him up, you know?
Prick like him.
Rand, Egwene, why don't you two finish up the dishes?
Of course.
Why is she avoiding him?
Something that I need.
Okay, let's hope that, you know, if you start off the show kissing, I'm already concerned about where you're both headed. And who's gonna wash the dishes? Children never think of these things.
To study to be a wisdom someday.
What? No,
She asked. I didn't say yes or no.
Well, does that mean you can't marry?
Really?
Or no?
I should get him to bed.
She's allowed to consider it. Then you'll both be happier if she chooses whichever path calls to her most. Oh dear. God, is this the person from the dark side seeking whoever the young person is? It's Voldemort! Did not expect any turf-inspired characters in this show.
What do you have for me this year?
Yep, he's a thief.
I'm going to.
I know. I already know.
Okay. Glad he's not trying to pressure or anything.
When When she got there, your sisters took one look at her ragged clothes, her peasant accent, and they turned her away.
Not bad, was it?
His life's not going to be what he thought it would be. There's only 5 years difference in age between them. I suppose there can be multiple wisdoms in a town? Or did the wisdom that brought her here pass on that was a girl to watch and to make sure she went on a good path and not a bad?
Chip in. To buy some lanterns for the girls.
It's already stolen to do that.
We'll be alright.
How long does it take before the Wheel of Time turns someone's spirit back into the world again?
Wish I knew.
That's what the Wheel of
Sure there's a
Time
reason no one
means.
can remember their previous lives.
Okay, good to see her smiling.
Dozens. We need to leave. Now.
Not if the one's here, surely. The fact that we stopped doing this kind of dance is a tragedy, if you ask me. Oh gosh.
Tom, what's wrong?
Fucking hell. So can the dark ones figure out who it is quicker? I knew this was too happy a village. The Sid's ice or whatever needs to do something. Come on. Why is he not more concerned?
They were right here, right?
Where are the girls?
Shit parents. I know it was panicky, but is the other one like, oh no, it's one of these. The first episode I have no idea which of these characters are going to be main characters and which ones could die. Oh, what's the significance of this blade? He doesn't fight like a shepherd. Did he used to be a soldier of some kind? Good job, kid. Well, finally you show up! Ooh, they work very well together. We got them all? We still haven't got Voldemort.
Come and get some of this!
Brave, brave people.
Hey, it's alright, I've got you.
I mean, they're quite safe in there, to be honest.
You remember when
Oh god, there's two of them now. He's killed the ones inside the blacksmiths as well. Oh my god. How many are there? I keep waiting on someone to call on some magic or something. Oh, there goes one. He's still up there. Oh shit. That's enough to traumatize you for the rest of your life. You just get lost in the sort of bloodlust of battle, the heat of it, the just desperation. And you kill the woman you love. How do you go on? Like I said, I do not know who here is our main character and who could die. There are so fucking many of them! Fuck, there's like a whole army left. Why do we send, or they send one person to find this creature? Is the rest of the order a bit rubbish that way? Like, because the girl said that they sent away the poor girls, like they didn't even give her a chance. So is the rest of the order like useless and kind of just for show now, and she's one of the only ones that takes it seriously. Moiraine. She's calling in a lot of power right now. I cannot wait to learn more about this world. Let's hope there was no one upstairs or inside. Well, this happy village was not destined to stay so happy. You can rebuild and mourn those you lost, but it's a whole different place than it was just hours before. Take whatever comforts you can.
Take the light. Can you help him?
She can try. So did the Dark Ones take Nanine, or whatever her name is? Because it's like she was dragged away, she wasn't just killed. Do they think she's the one? Even though she's too old? How weak is she after all that fighting? One good news after everything, one piece of goodness.
For the four of you.
Oof.
20 years ago, the dragon has been born again. And it's one of you.
You fully lost your mind.
It does sound like it. What now?
What are those?
300 at least.
Jesus.
Get here so fast.
Where are the rest of the people in the White Tower?
You're coming with me. They're after you. They will follow you. And if you stay here, this is where they'll come. They will leave nothing and no one.
That is true. The only chance the village does have if they're really after these four. And after even she hasn't been able to figure out which of the four it is. It's the only way to desperately hope that the evil forces go another way. I cannot wait to get to know you all.
In one age.
I really enjoyed this episode. It just scratched that fantasy itch that you get. I love fantasy shows with all my heart and soul. And if I wasn't reacting, I would immediately be pausing watching the show, ordering the books, reading the book, and then watching the show. But as I am reacting, I will go into this completely fresh. If I'd happened to already have read the book, that's a different story, but I haven't. So I am very invested. I love how this opening worked. Was it super fast paced? No, but it was plenty fast paced enough. It introduced me enough to these four young characters and to... I'm gonna call her Moiraine. If that is not her name, I will learn differently. One thing, just a quick FYI that I often say is I have got chronic fatigue syndrome, also known as myalgic encephalomyelitis, and one of the symptoms that it does is brain fog and like short-term memory. And I have noticed that genuinely since I got ill, names are really hard for me to remember in TV shows and books. I used to be someone that I would watch something once and I would know every single detail that ever happened. I'm still reasonably good, like I still know the plots and the general gist of things, but the characters' names, and especially when they're like fantasy names, so they're a little bit different. I will get there. I will even go into the IMDb of the first episode and make a little note on my planner of like the people I think are going to be important. I won't look at how many episodes they're in or anything. I will just look at like the first episode, what are these people? But no, this was a very good episode. It was a brilliant introduction to this world. It kind of sucked you in, and I cannot wait to learn more about it, because obviously we learned a little bit about the Aes Sedai. That stuck in my head, if I'm even saying it right, and their White Tower. We heard some not so good things about them, in that they turned away a girl who had desperately gone to get there just because she was poor. You know, even if they had, it doesn't even sound like they had took her in and tested her to see if she was worthy of being there, or, you know, gave her a good meal and some money to help her get home. They just were like, peasant leave, which definitely doesn't speak well to them. I also think it's interesting that only one of them has made this journey, and from what she said, it doesn't necessarily sound as though there are others searching in other areas. Maybe there are. Because if you know the forces of darkness of the dragon... No, they're the dragon. The darkness is the bad guys. Forces of the dragon are coming. You'd think you'd send more than one, because she very nearly wasn't able to fight off that army. If the rest of the army had made it in one go, we probably would not be sitting here right now. This episode, the minute you see this village, and it genuinely looks happy, it looks like a really lovely place. It's not perfect, there are going to be small problems, big problems, we see that with a couple of the main characters, but it was just a peaceful place, untouched by the rest of the world. And it wasn't even really a case of, often in like sort of fantasy shows or whatever, you have a main character who's a bit different and they're looked down on by the rest of the village for whatever reason, and that just was not the case. We were introduced to the ritual of, I guess, when a young woman becomes, a girl becomes a young woman, she jumps off a cliff and is taken by the river, and then they braid her hair, which is a very interesting tradition. I want to know every detail of these worlds. If you've watched my reactions before, I love history and I love fictional history. I just want to know everything. It was very fascinating to see, and this idea that the original Dark One was a man, and so it kind of, any man that touches the magic, it alters his mind. What does that mean for the fact that 3 of these potential dragons are men? They're boys. Like, does that mean that if one of them was found to be the one, we would just kill them? Or could they be trained somehow? Is there maybe more to it than that? I'm just so excited to get into this and to learn. It makes me instinctively think that Egwene, which I think is her name, is going to be the one that is the dragon, because she is the only girl of the 4 of them. She already was kind of hearing the wind a little bit, so she's that little bit connected. But no, I love learning everything we did learn about the White Tower and the Aes Sedai, and I cannot wait to learn more about Moiraine, it's what she's called from now. And her dude, who I think was called like Lan Mondragorin or something, because I remember thinking that was a cool name. But it sounds almost like his name is like to serve the dragon, or to serve the linked to dragon. It could just be a similarity. So then we have the 4 potential dragon candidates. I'm hoping we're going to get more into what the prophecy or whatever it was entailed, and what they're going to have to do to try and stop the evil forces, and what the evil forces are. This was very much just a first episode. I'm not expecting it to have sat me down and given me a history lesson as much as I personally would have enjoyed that. A lot of other people wouldn't, and I think this was a brilliant introduction. Starting off with Egwene, we have a young girl becoming a woman, going through the ceremony of everything. Initially, if you're shoved into a raging rapid river, you're going to struggle, but then she was able to stop, let go, trust the river like she was told to, and make it through. Clearly, loved by her family, her parents own the tavern, she's quite content. And her big life decision at the beginning of this episode being the offer to become the next, well, not really the next wisdom if she's only like 5 years younger than the current wisdom, but to train to be a wisdom which would protect her people. The wind that she maybe has heard whispers of, she could learn to listen to, and she kind of touch into that side of herself. Or the life she maybe expected she was going to have her entire life, which was, I guess, just marrying Rand and starting a family with him, and just like having a kind of ordinary life. She could have this different life. Obviously, at this point, none of them seem to be having the lives they thought they were going to have. But that's just where she was at. And that is a huge decision to make, because as much as I think the fact that she didn't say no to the offer when it was made shows you that she wanted to take it, she just also didn't want to break the boy she loves heart and her own heart a little bit, because they couldn't be together. But she also knew what her calling was, and that is interesting. That is, for me, one tick in the corner of she's going to be the dragon. I will say, initially, I was kind of worried that Rand was going to be again, I think his name was Rand. It's what we're calling him if it's not, until I learn otherwise. I think, I was initially kind of worried he would do that sort of, oh, but we were meant to be together, I bought you berries, wow, you're supposed to be mine, kind of attitude that wouldn't even necessarily, to a degree, have been totally inappropriate. Like, he could, because he's allowed to be hurt and upset, but, he kind of, yes, he walked away when he initially heard it, but I don't really blame him, He'd just been kind of, where I spent the day reminiscing about how he'd loved her all his life, and then she doesn't want to be with him because she wants to do something else. Is it as simple as that? No. But I wouldn't have blamed him for being a bit put out, but instead he was just upset, but also understanding about it. And who knows what would have happened the longer time went on, the more time he had to sit with the reality. Would it have been a situation where he'd have just married any old girl that would do, and she'd always known she was second best, or could he have loved again? And again, maybe 3 of them are going to end up back in their village living these normal lives. I don't know. And, I might be thinking about these characters as though they're important, and only one of them will be. We will find out. The most interesting thing, though, about Rand to me was his father and that sword. The sword had, like, a little animal on it, like a swan or something. And the dad was very good with the sword. He didn't look to me like, I'm just a shepherd that as a sword that I found one day and I'm going to protect my family with it. Kind of everyone else in the village that was fighting were more or less panicked. They were kind of, maybe they're used to swinging an axe, but they're not trained. The dad seemed trained. And maybe I'm reading too much into that little symbol on the pommel, but that almost makes me feel like, I don't know, like a long lost noble or someone that's like in hiding, or yeah, I don't know if that's even going to be relevant. But that was kind of the thing that piqued my interest with that character. It will, of course, be interesting to have these two on the road when they clearly love each other and have loved each other all their lives, and they've just kind of come to the realization they won't be together, and now they're kind of literally thrust together. That'll be kind of interesting dynamics, but I'm just intrigued about both of them. I actually really liked all the characters. Now, the two most tragic characters in a lot of ways, well, initially the most tragic character was, I'm gonna call him the thief because he stole the bracelet. I do understand that his life is more complicated than that, but he did steal the bracelet from the woman. I did not pick up his name. He is one that I do not even have a shadow of what his name was. I only really have Rand's name in my head because when I paused it at one point, his name came up on the side and I was like, oh, that's his name. Which is why I'm going to write their names down and hope they stick in my brain. I'm going to call him the thief, but he's already been introduced as a lot more. Now, initially, he was introduced as the guy that was gambling his money. Now, he does seem like someone who needs the money, but at the same time, when you need the money, gambling is so stupid because you're just gonna, the chances are you're gonna leave with less money than you had. But then you look at his family, it seems as though his mother's drunk a lot of the time, probably has addiction issues, not that they'd call it that then. His dad definitely sleeps around. It's not a very happy family. He's also kind of caring for his sisters, and the way he was looking after them from, making sure they had lanterns for the festival so they didn't feel left out, making sure that they could sleep with him, looking at when the fighting was happening and the parents were like, oh, the girls were here. I swear. They didn't run after him to go and rescue their children. They were just like, oh dear, children down. I'm not saying they don't love their daughters. They obviously are very troubled themselves, but we're focusing on the thief. He cares about his sisters and he wants to try and protect them as much as he can from maybe what he went through growing up. So you can kind of get a glimpse that he probably didn't have a very happy upbringing. Some of the stuff his mum was saying, she called one of her daughters a bitch. She told him he was going to be a prick like his dad. It's not exactly the warmest and most loving of households. And I'm sure the parents are troubled. They're not evil, but you can definitely see that he has had a very hard upbringing and has had to become a parent to his sisters at a young age. If they're all supposed to be like 20, I guess turning 21, then they're babies. They're tiny babies. I'm so old. And it'll be very hard for him to leave his sisters, who I imagine he feels this degree of responsibility for, but it might also be kind of a relief to be away from his parents, even if he feels a bit guilty about that because he's kind of free from the burden of that. And I did actually like that his friends knew he'd want some money for his sisters, and so they tried to give it to him. They're like looking out for him because it's not like either of them are super wealthy or anything. I mean, maybe if Rand is secretly a descendant of nobles, the shepherd man might have a secret cache of gold somewhere. You never know, but they're not exactly very wealthy themselves. And then we have the Mr. Blacksmith, again a name that I did not catch. That, funny, my brain, just the concept of him stabbing his wife was so outside of what I was expecting that even though I watched it happen, I just interpreted it as one of the creatures stabbed her. And then I was like, that was his axe. That is honestly gutting. Like, I can't imagine anything worse in so many ways. Like, it's not his fault. It is, they were fighting in close quarters. There was a creature and then another one came in and it was chaos raining down around them. She probably, I mean, I'm not blaming her, but maybe if she'd said his name, it wouldn't have happened, but maybe it still would have done because his ears were probably ringing, the stress and the panic and the chaos, and I need to protect my family, I need to protect my town, oh my god, I'm panicking. And he stabbed her and she died in his arms. That is just so brutal. I was really intrigued by them. I liked both of them as characters, from the little we saw of them, and I was intrigued by the fact the whole, like, she didn't go to the ceremony on the rock and she was just blacksmithing, and I was like, oh, is she not happy in her life? Are they desperate for work? I was ready to like delve into like what was going on there, but then she she was like, I love you, and they were quite sort of sweet together, and then she's just dead. Absolutely gutting, and nobody else knows that he did it. Now, I personally don't think he should feel guilt for that. Like, if that had been a creature and he just turned around, had a good look at it to check it was a creature and not his wife, he would be dead. So of course he's going to turn around and stab. It's just absolutely devastating, and I genuinely don't know how you keep going after that. I mean, I suppose you lean on your friends and your family, but if they don't know, and I'm guessing that he's not gonna offer that information up lightly, so no one's gonna know to help him, because I don't think any of them, they might be shocked, but they wouldn't be like, oh my god, you murdered your wife intentionally, you bastard. They all had English accents. Why am I putting on a dodgy, somewhat American accent? I don't know. Like, none of them would judge him for it. They'd be shocked and horrified and unsure how to help him, because how do you help someone through that? So for him, in a way, fleeing the town in a lot of ways might be a good thing, because it means he can escape his grief to a degree. You can kind of push it down and act like it's not there, because living in the house that your wife should be in, the smithy that she should be working in, and she's just not there because you stabbed her, would be pretty devastating. But I just want to give him a hug and say, it wasn't your fault, it was absolute chaos. And I don't think he would believe me, because that's not the kind of thing you do believe when you're devastated. The village, it started off so peaceful and happy, and like, yeah, they were a bit like, oh, who cares about the rest of the world? But at the same time, why should people in this village go and fight and die for some people in another village? Like, if some people are being attacked and they need help, that's different. But if it's just kind of one ruler is like, I want more land, then why should people in this random village have to do anything about it? But these 4 young people, their lives are forever different. I can't wait to learn more about them. I can't wait to learn more about Moiraine and Van, and I cannot wait to learn more about what is going on with the dragon and the prophecy and the darkness. Such a good first episode. I genuinely, like, my brain wants to binge, but I also know if I were to just sit down and binge reactions to this and then post them on a week, I would not be able to write for the rest of the week, because my CFS would be like, what the fuck have you done? Such a good first episode. I cannot wait to watch more. A reminder that if you're watching this on YouTube, the first 3 episodes are already up on my Patreon. You get them 2 weeks in advance on Patreon unedited, 1 week in advance edited, and thank you so much for watching.